Well, good day and welcome all my acorns and crafters. Today we're going to be taking a short tour of Oak Island in Minecraft, and we'll do that by highlighting what the History Channel considers to be the top 10 ancient structures. You see here we've got the boathouse and the causeway. Kind of a recurring theme on this channel is going to be asking you, my faithful viewers, for your help. I use whatever online resources I can find, as well as footage provided by the television show on History Channel for the information I have, but I always need the help of my faithful viewers. You can come forward and give me some more information. So if you do have any information that you can assist in creating my island and making it a little bit better, please leave comments down below. I really appreciate everything you've got. So as we're coming across the causeway here, the first item that was on the list is the pine tar kiln. Easiest and fastest way to get where we're going is to come up in the air a little ways. You can see here's the interpretive center. I believe that's the original war room and the research center. So we'll take a shortcut across the island here, and we will head for the pine tar kiln. You'll notice there's a couple areas where Google Earth shows buildings, but the only thing I have is an aerial view. So I don't know what those buildings are. So if you do know what buildings go in some of these blank foundation spots, I would appreciate any help you can give me. This, of course, is the main road that goes across the island. You can see off there on the left-hand side the late Fred Nolan's property, and the swamp is dead ahead. This is a bald area, and I don't know if that's the bald area they talk about in one of their previous episodes, or if that just happens to be kind of a parking lot. I'm not sure which. This is an empty foundation here as well. Fairly certain that's the location of the new war room. If anybody knows, please leave a comment down below. As we come across the island here, this is one of those mystery locations. They don't give a good solid location for the pine tar kiln. Somebody dropped a pin on Google Earth, and I don't know how accurate it is. The other reference material I have doesn't give a solid location. All it does is mention that it's near the money pit, which you can see is right here. The pin that's dropped on Google Earth, I believe, is a little too far south, but I don't know for certain. So this is what they've identified as a pine tar kiln. Fred Nolan, the late Fred Nolan, originally had it on his maps, indicating that it was a possible entrance or tunnel entrance. They did their excavation work, archaeologist Laird Niven and his team, and determined it to be a pine tar kiln. Again, this is a location based on Google Earth. Somebody dropped a pin. I believe it's too far south. I think it should be further up here. But if anybody knows, please leave a comment down below. Next on their list was the Stone Road, which is this big area in the southeast corner of the swamp. You can see that the swamp is still a work in progress. I just did a fair amount of work and the grass is kind of regrowing. But this is the stone road that they talk about that dates back, I want to say they said about 400 years, based on the organic material that were found within it. Next item on their list is the Lot 26 wall, which is way down over here. Most of these tree lines are fairly accurate. Certainly the tree lines that are around legitimate buildings and structures, I've taken the time to make them as accurate as possible based on satellite photography on Google Earth. Some of them are a little bit more approximated. This open area here, I'm not sure exactly whether that's grassy or shrubs. Google Earth is a little bit vague on that. If anybody knows what that area is, I'd appreciate your help on it. Just leave a comment down below. So as we're coming across here, this is the pond that's on the southwest corner of the island. So this Lot 26 wall, I went back and watched some of the previous episodes, and the wall actually separates between Lot 26 and 27, which I can approximate is right about here, but it doesn't indicate how far the wall goes. You can tell from the episode where they did some archaeological work on this wall that it extends all the way to this pond, but they don't indicate how far inland it goes. They also noticed that they had this large tree that they dated so that they could try to date the wall to kind of push the wall up out of place. Again, I don't know if this extends the entire length of the lot line between 26 or 27. You can see on their video on the TV show that it extends slightly past this big tree, but they don't indicate how much further it goes. And Google Earth doesn't have the detail because it blends in so well with the surroundings. It's very hard to tell. The next area that they talk about is the stone pathway, and this is one I could really use you guys' help with. Again, the Google Earth satellite imagery is a little unclear. They give a graphic that's created by the History Channel that indicates it runs the entire length of the eastern side of the swamp. It's, kind of a cartoonish graphic, so it's hard to say whether it's a very straight pathway or if it curves and slants around. I've just made a straight line between where it shows that it starts, which is kind of up here near the eye of the swamp, extending to the south all the way to the corner of the stone road. Again, if any of you have taken a tour of the island and have some personal pictures, that would be awesome, and I'd really appreciate your help on this one. Pictures or any comments that could give me a little bit better direction on exactly what this stone pathway looks like. And last but not least is the stone ramp. In the graphic they show, it comes out of the corner of this paved area, which is next on the list, so we'll talk about it simultaneously, that this ramp extends out kind of out of the corner here up and extends further up the hill. It's a little weird because sometimes when they're working on the stone ramp, you can see Fred Nolan's property in the background, which leads me to believe it's over here, but the History Channel graphic shows it very clearly coming out of the corner of the paved area. So this is a work in progress. Trying to come up with what I can. Again, any comments and information you guys have would be awesome. Next on their list was Nolan's Cross. This is actually, if you're looking from the foot towards the head, that would be the left arm. That boulder right there, those indicate the boulders that make up Nolan's Cross. This would be the headstone. That would be the left arm over there. This would be the head. And then as you head further south, see if I can locate these where I placed them. What's weird is I did a screenshot of the episode where they're talking about the sacred numbers and the dimensions and how it all ties in together. What's weird is that they actually show a picture of Google Earth with the cross superimposed over the top of it. So I went and pulled up that same timeline of Nolan's Cross and how they had it superimposed, and using, that would be the foot of the cross right there, by the way, and using the distance measuring tool in Google Earth, I found that the dimensions that he presented are very inaccurate, which I found kind of interesting because usually their information is pretty solid, but he was talking about how the sacred numbers line up. There's the last remaining boulder in Nolan's Cross, how they all lined up in 320 feet and 288 feet or whatever the dimensions were, but when you lay it out and you measure them on Google Earth using his own map, they're not nearly as accurate as he would indicate. So if anybody has any information, especially, I try to do some online research to come up with legitimate longitude and latitude locations for the boulders that make up Nolan's Cross, and I have not been able to come up with exact dimensions. The closest I could come up with, again, was that overlay map from the episode called Sacred Numbers. And I'm having trouble making it jive. So any information you guys can give me on that would be very well appreciated. Next on the list is the well. We've actually been over here, but we'll take one more look at it on lot 26. This one is also, somebody dropped a pin on Google Earth. And its location actually jives pretty well. And I'm going the wrong direction. I am going the wrong direction. So the pin that somebody dropped on Google Earth for the well on lot 26 actually lines up extremely close to the video footage from the History Channel television show. So I have no arguments on that pin. Some of the pins seemed more accurate than others. As we come across here, I've tried to do a fairly faithful representation of the island using Google Earth to come up with excuse me. Again, using Google Earth to come up with the shorelines, the elevations for the island, areas where you have like this bald spot. The roads are, I'd say, about 95% accurate. So I'm pretty pleased overall with how this has come out. My bathymetry for off the shoreline, I only have some rudimentary bathymetry. You can see I've done the best I can to contour the underwater portions. It's turned out pretty well. You'll notice that I still have a fair amount of the original Minecraft world that I have yet to get rid of. It's a work in progress, and I think each time we revisit the island, or you join me at the island, you'll notice that there's been some significant progress made. So there's the stone well. It lines up very nicely. The pin that was dropped on Google Earth lines up very nicely with the pond. And if you'll remember when they were wandering around doing some of this work, how tall the grass was, I've tried to represent that well. And so there's the stone well. You'll have to excuse the monsters running around. Welcome to Minecraft. Acorns. And you crafters will appreciate it, of course, now that the sun has gone down. Next on the list is the circular stone depression. And this is another one where I really need your help. They talk about in the television show how the circular stone depression lines up so well with a map called the hole under the hatch. Well, on Google Earth, they've dropped a pin on the hole under the hatch, which falls dead square in the middle of Lot 3. But they clearly talk about the circular stone depression being on the north end of Lot 5. So clearly what the pin that somebody's dropped on Google Earth is inaccurate. I found two clearings up on the north side of Lot 5 that seem to line up pretty well with possible locations. This is the one I think is probably the best. Again, if anybody has an exact latitude and longitude for the circular depression, I'd appreciate it. This would be one location. When they're working there, Laird Niven and Alex Lagina, you can clearly see the ocean through the trees, which tells me this is fairly close. When you look at the clearing that's on Google Earth, my other possible location is just slightly over here to the west, right where this sign is here, which also seems to jive pretty well. So if anybody knows or has an exact location, latitude, longitude for this depression, that'd be much appreciated. And then last but not least on their list is the garden shaft. And we're going to have a little bit of fun over here at the Money Pit as we continue our tour. This time we'll be going right over the top of the late Fred Nolan's property. These buildings are in pretty precise locations based on Google Earth. The last video footage I saw from the television show, you can see his buildings in the distance, and they are clearly red, which is why I chose to make them red here. If they've been repainted or that's not an accurate color, please let me know and I'll update them and get them the right color. So here we're coming up on the Money Pit. I've been going through old episodes and locating some of the caissons they've been putting down in the ground. Some I've actually constructed, some of them I've only marked. At this point they've done 6 caissons is what I'm up to. And you can see I've got them fenced off here, kind of showing what the caissons would look like. You can see I've got them labeled here as that's C1, and I have it actually dug. Here's Gal 1, DMT, H8, which I've actually dug, Valley 3, and T1 are the ones that I have marked out so far. And here's the garden shaft. So you come over the garden shaft. I haven't built the individual layers. I wanted to leave it open so it gives a little better representation of the depth. You can kind of see what we're looking at. This wooden fencing represents the walls that they've built. To give the money pit area a little more context before we sign off for the day, I'm going to take you over here. This is, last but not least, of course, famous 10X. So to give you some context as far as how deep and large this whole area is, I've got one little sneaky entrance here. We're going to come down in here, put a little light on the subject. And what I've done is I've emptied out the entire money pit area down to about 240 feet, so that as I dig these caissons and I start showing underground work, we can get a better visualization, because I can mentally wrap my head around the work being done when it's visually represented a lot better than just points on a map, which is why I built this island in the first place. So this is 10X. This gives you an idea. Remember, 10X was dug by hand. Dan and Dave Blankenship and their partner Dan Hinsky dug this by hand. You can see even C1 and H8 come short of what these guys did by hand. These were dug by that automatic caisson with the oscillator, and that's the garden shaft here. So this gives you a really good, clear indication of just how large of an area they're trying to search. You know, it looks like a small footprint, but when you actually dig this area out and look at the area they're investigating, this is a huge area. That gives you a really clear indication of the kind of work that Dan and Dave Blankenship and their partner Dan Hinsky put into their work on 10X. Over 200 feet deep, all by hand, compared to what they did with the caissons and the garden shaft. So I hope that gives you a little idea of what I've got going on here. I hope you guys continue to join me on my weekly updates as I continue to follow the progress of the television show and the work being done on Oak Island. I hope you enjoyed the tour, and if you do like this, please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you again in about a week. I hope everybody has a great day, a great blessed day, and see you on the flip side.